What's going on, guys? And welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I'm your host, Lisa. My partner in crime over here is Justine, and welcome to episode 76 of our show. It's wild to think we now have 76 of these and so many more on the way. I don't know. I'm so amazing, and I appreciate everyone listening. Today on episode 76, we are joined by Dan and Angel of Long Island-based Polyjuice. Really looking forward to having them on for a long time. I followed them. They were perfect for the show. Justine and I had such a great time, and we just want to get into it. So here is our conversation with Dan and Angel of Polyjuice. Thank you guys for wanting to come on. This is really cool.
Of course. Thanks for having us. We've been anticipating this moment. It's nice to meet you finally.
I know. I told Justine, I was like, I think it was either when your EP came out or after. I'm like, I think you guys followed me. I don't know how.
Yeah.
But I listened to it immediately. I was like, oh gosh, this is so good. This is like my music. I need to listen to this. And then when I had the podcast and I saw like the mental health stuff you guys were doing and even heard Patronus Charm, I was like, okay, we have to somehow make this work.
Definitely. Thank you so much for the kind words. Like, I love your page. Your podcast is awesome. I love what you're doing. We kind of have the similar mindset with our band, like what we want to do. So I think it's just a perfect fit to come on here.
And of course, someone from Long Island. I know we'll get into that, but like Long Island just has so much history too. And we had Roderick on, which love those guys. And I know I think they said they heard of you before, or some of the members. I don't know.
Yeah, I know of them just from like the local scene, but I don't know them personally.
Oh,
But
great
wait,
dude.
where you are you guys not from Long Island? I thought you were
No,
actually.
no,
Oh.
no, but there was a music venue. What is it called? Is it Revolution? Something followed me a while ago. And so I think people do think I'm from because like I follow the page and they follow me. I'm like, no, I wish like one day I wanted to live in Long Island, but I'm in Jersey, so I made it somewhere. But
It's close.
yeah, it's close enough. But oh my gosh, so Justine, if you want, like just so we can get going, you can go ahead.
So we always really love to ask everybody, what are your first memories of falling in love with music?
I'm originally from Peru, so I really started with playing the guitar in one of the schools that a Catholic school, so you have a choice of the flute or the guitar. So I chose the guitar, and I think just playing with it and seeing the people playing and singing the songs. At first, it was a struggle playing guitar, but I felt so in love with it that my grades started dropping. Like I only wanted to play guitar, and that was definitely something that I noticed, like, playing guitar and hanging out with people and, be surrounded by people that love music, the same type of music that you love. It really meant something to me. And then one time I went to the mall with friends and we just sit in the cafeteria and just eating food. And then we see like people on the stage and we didn't know what was happening. And at the time, my favorite band called Olivito, Peruvian band, it was playing there. It was like a private concert of about 45 people. And I think at that moment I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I want to do. This is exactly what what eventually like to be on the stage and, have people, enjoy our music and just, talk to each other.
Oh, that's so cool. Like, any tips for guitar? Because I tried a long time ago and I failed at it really bad. It was awful. Like, Guitar Hero is like the peak of my guitar playing. So, like, any tips for anybody?
I think with just patience. At first, your fingers are gonna hurt a lot. You're gonna get a lot of cramps. It's just, give it a minute, like give it 30 minutes a day. Even though if you don't see progress on your own, just keep at it, keep going. And next time, you're gonna be like, oh wait, I can't believe I just did that. And it just was keep patience to it, and keep devoting to it. Even if I can, it's 30 minutes, you'll notice it as you progress. Like you're like, oh my God, it's actually, coming together.
So you shouldn't like look up guitar tabs on like for Green Day. You shouldn't do that right away because that's what I was doing. I was like, I just want to
yes,
play Green Day.
I think that's what like people try to do, and like when they use power chords. I think power chords are actually one of the hardest things to do. I think going all the basics, like going with with the basic chords, eventually build the muscle, and then because also the strumming is another thing. They try to do the strumming and going from one note to the other. I think is is challenging. once you build yourself out and you build the muscle on your opposite hand, I would think definitely go for Green Day. But yes, I mean, you can start with the basics. Even if you're strumming one string, hey, that's progress right there.
Cool. All right. So maybe another shot. We'll see. But what about you, Dan?
Growing up, like I started playing like string bass. I wanted to play drums, but like in elementary school, like you get to pick your instrument. So I was forced to play string bass because it was closest to guitar, and I was just basically like forced into it. But it became like my thing, and I just never stopped since. And I guess I kind of had like the same similar experience as Angel. And you at first it can be challenging and it hurts and it's painful, but then eventually it just clicks and you're like, holy shit, that thing that I practiced for like 2 weeks is like so easy now. And you're just like, it like blows your mind. And you're like, I can't believe I did that.
So like I guess I gotta like stick it out and try it again. I'll see.
Yeah,
But
definitely, you got to keep going.
yeah, but that's interesting because like in elementary school they had me, you got to pick your instrument, and I think I got stuck with like the baritone. And I hated it, and I think that turned it off for me too. Like, I don't wanna play this, like, mini tuba, I wanna play, like, cool stuff. I would love to play the drums, that's one thing too,
Yeah.
but again, I'm like, yeah, rock band that's where it stops, but yeah, so anyone that can play an instrument, I'm like, yes, but obviously, like, we talked a little bit too, Long Island. So, like, tell us about Long Island for you guys. What is so special about that scene?
Growing up, it was different than it is now, but it's really starting to make a comeback. Like everywhere you go now, there's like emo pop punk music playing. Like there's all these cover bands playing everywhere. Like you can go to like the bar down the street and there's like a Blink 182 cover band coming now. So I think that's awesome that just like the music in general is kind of like reviving. But for like a few years, like maybe like 10 years ago, it kind of like died out here. But now it's like coming back and everyone's like has like all my friends now have new bands all playing shows out. Like there's kind of like a new emerging scene going on.
Cool, that's cool to hear because like, you hear, like, what bands like Taking Back Sunday,
Mhm.
Brand New, The Movie Life, my favorite. The Movie Life's out there. Who else? I don't know. I'm trying to
You
think of
said
big.
Brand New, right?
Yeah,
Brand
Brand
New.
New, Taking Back Sunday. I don't know.
Bayside
Oh
and stuff.
yeah, how did I
Well,
miss
that's
Bayside?
well, that's Queens maybe.
Yeah, somebody got me. Like when I was on my friend's podcast, they got me. They're like, that's not Long Island, that's Queens." I'm like, "It's New York. Who cares?" Like whatever.
Yeah,
But I
but
guess so. Wait,
if
is
you're
there a
from
difference?
yeah, if you're from Queens, you can't say that they're from Long
Oh.
Island.
Oh man. Well, hopefully
The
Bayside didn't listen to
technicality.
that. We'll see.
Oh
But
God, I
but
hope not.
but no, I love those guys. Those guys shared our episode we did about them. And because of that, we got so many opportunities and people that they knew. And I'm like, those guys, I love Bayside forever. So they're golden. So
Yeah.
maybe I didn't rub them the wrong way. But what about you, Angel? Like what's so special about the scene for you?
I think, besides what Dan already mentioned, I think there's a lot of new bands, so, new music, and I've noticed like a lot of local support for bands, that are just coming up with their own music. We all listen to Blink 182, the New Found Glory, Bayside, and all this, and then we use that as an inspiration to create our own music. And I think it's important that people are coming to local shows to support those new bands, because as Dan was mentioned 10 years ago, being an original band, it wasn't really very productive. I mean, if you wanted to play, of course, we all play for the love of music. But if you try to make some money out of it, or at least, get something going, back then it was very little support for original bands. But I noticed, in addition to pop punk and emo coming back to Long Island, also the new bands are really using that emotion going to put themselves out there. And that's something that I think is unique nowadays, because we just supporting each other as a whole, pop punk Igbo community, and that's what the music is about. It's just pretty much provide our inside, our own feels into it, and just have people appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's so important. That's also like why doing this podcast, which I'm glad we haven't had like those big bands that some have had, but it's like the smaller bands that need it because that's like back when I used to live in Chicago, it was like that's who you did. You supported your scene. You supported whether it was like a flyer, a MySpace post, or anything, a Facebook post. Like you have to support your local scene. It's so important. So that's why I'm also really proud that it's like, all right, I have like all these people, whether it's 600 fans, 1,000 fans, whatever it is. Like I think that's so important to support your scene.
Yeah, obviously what you guys do is huge. We are very thankful to be in this podcast. But yes, I think what you guys are doing is incredible.
Oh, thank you. We try, like everyone said when we started it, that it wouldn't last because of the mental health, because a lot of people don't want to talk mental health. And I'm like, well, somehow we're a year into it and it's just like there's more and more to it. So obviously that's not right. But that's, yeah. Oh, appreciate bands like you for sure.
So we have to definitely talk about Harry Potter. I happen to be a huge fanatic of Harry Potter personally. We would like to talk about all the references and why it's important to your band.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm a huge nerd and Potterhead. I am Slytherin. I'm just gonna let you know right now. I'm sorry.
My best friend is Slytherin. That's fine.
All right. But yeah, like Harry Potter to me is just like a magical break from reality. You know, especially during COVID, I was reading the books religiously. I probably read them like I went through all of them like every single month, and it just kind of helped make me forget what was going on. But this is also around the time I started writing the songs for Polyjuice. And in all my songs, I always like to just throw like Easter eggs and like little hints to things I like. And during that time, I was just like on a Harry Potter like binge. Like that's all I could do. Like I put on my TV, like the Harry Potter ambiences on YouTube. I still play them like every day too, but like I was going like so hard with it. So Polyjuice becoming like a Harry Potter band kind of just happened on accident because I didn't really think anyone would ever hear our songs or like we would be a band. It was kind of just like a thing for fun. And I was just like, I don't give a fuck. I'm gonna do what I want. Like I love Harry Potter. I think it's a great story with all these great characters, and I want to put like a little token to the book into the songs. And I have other references from other things. There's a million Polyjuice songs that no one will ever hear with all these Harry Potter references. But at the end of the day, now that we are like a band and we're kind of like doing things and getting more established, I think it's just cool that other people who like it too can relate with us in that way as well.
I love that. Like the Harry Potter fandom, we're all like just one big massive happy family. Okay, like if we have any kind of reference, we're gonna get excited for it, we're gonna be hyped on it, and it's a great community. So I really love that you're doing it. So whenever Lisa first told me about you guys, I was just like, oh my god. Like, this excited
because I'm a huge nerd. Like I love Game of Thrones, I love Star Wars, I
Yes.
love Stranger Things, I love all of that. Lord of the Rings, give me Lord of the Rings all day. But for some reason, I never caught on to Harry Potter. And I think because everybody around me was like, are you listening to this? Are you watching this? Are you like reading this? No, I'm not. And I think it just turned me off. But Justine's like, you have to get on it. So
I
what, I guess too, we'll just give you the floor too. What am I missing about Harry Potter? Like where does one start?
So I think the thing for me is like the first book I ever bought. I was in like first grade, and I was just like looking around, and someone was like, "You need to get this book." I got it, and I read it, and now every time I read that first Sorcerer's Stone, it brings me back to like reading my first book as a child, and it's just I think you have to read the books because the movie is good, but the books is just takes it to a whole nother level with all of these plot lines and little details that aren't you're not getting in the movie, just like Game of Thrones. Like
Mm-hmm.
in the books, like there's so much more details and imagery that you don't get in the movies. Like after like watching Game of Thrones and then reading the books to Game of Thrones, the show makes so much more sense. Like because just
Yeah.
like certain details. Like I don't know if you noticed, like in Game of Thrones, the first episode, the dire wolves are stabbed by the deer. That's like
Mm-hmm.
imagery from is like foreshadowing to the end of the season, like where I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but
Yeah, I don't know, just yeah, yeah. No, but that's what I tell people all the time. I like friends here. I'm like, you have you read the books? You have to read the Game of Thrones books because I just love them. And I caught on before the series because a friend of mine was like, you love Lord of the Rings, you have to read Game of Thrones. like, all right, I'll just like, and I was just reading every little bit. And when the show came out, I'm like, I don't know. I love how Game of Thrones ended. And I know I'm like going off, but I love it. I'm one of those people, and people are like, no, it's awful. But
Yeah, like me and Tim felt the same way. We're like, we thought it was gonna end like that. Everybody hated how it ended, but yeah, now we've got House of Dragons, which is amazing. I love it.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm
You
so
need
behind.
to.
I'm so behind. And
You need
Oh, yeah,
to.
I need to, maybe we'll see. But oh yeah, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, all that stuff. Whenever Stranger Things comes out, like I'll be set.
Oh
So
my
just
God.
just have to wait just a little more. But I guess Millie Bobby Brown sometimes comes to Jersey, and she'll be in Red Bank, which is right by me. And because she's married to now John Bon Jovi's son.
Oh
So I'm like,
wow.
why can't I run into her yet? I want to run into
Maybe
her.
maybe at like the grocery store she's getting some waffles. I don't know.
Oh, I would love that. That would be so 11 of her. But
Crazy.
even like going off on the Harry Potter stuff, you guys just released a music video for Patronus Charm. And I love what you guys did with that video, because even listening to the song before, I kind of figured what it was about. I kind of pieced it together. And then with the video, it's so fitting. And you guys open it up, and it's so powerful about like suicide prevention and how many people we've lost to mental illness. I know I have. And you feature a loved one of mine in it. And I think it's really cool you guys did that. But how was the making of this video for you guys?
So when Dan shared with me that Patronus Charm was written in memory of Lee, it deeply moved me. The song's powerful message like really resonated with me, and I realized that creating a video that accompanied it could be a profound way to raise awareness about mental health and suicide prevention. By sharing, especially on social media, by reaching out to those who may be struggling, reminding them that they're not alone. There is hope even in dark times. And I think that's something that I really thought I was like, you know what, make this, I know this is about Lee, but, perhaps our followers and people who we know perhaps could share, that they also have friend or family member that could really, that also went through this, and, let them know that, suicide is really not an option, or not something that it should be, the last source or the end of the journey for them, no? So when we decided to plan this out, Dan and I chose like one of them was the forest, and the other one was the ocean as a setting for the Patronus Charm video to deepen its impact. The forest, because it's dense trees and the winding paths, symbolizes the feeling of being trapped in a maze, overwhelmed and small. It reflects the struggle that many people face when their mental health, feeling lost, unable to find a way out. In contrast, the ocean represents a place of peace and clarity. I know we're in Long Island, and whenever I feel stressed, whenever I feel like I need to get out the ocean, and I think it's like 10 minutes driving distance for me, I can just go there, bring my acoustic guitar, and just sit down and just be quiet and being silent, and just absorb the atmosphere around you. And that's one thing that really brought, that I was like, the ocean will be also another way to provide you relief, or to just make you feel peaceful. And again, we chose these two powerful environments, the aim was to visual capture the journey of feeling trapped and finding solace and hope. And, and then we kind of put it together. I think overall, the message that we wanted to give in the video is just, hey, you're not alone. As you talked about before, not a lot of people want to talk about mental health. And that's something that, people should be get used to more. You're not alone, or people think like, oh, this person's so perfect, the life is so perfect, but you really don't know what's going on in their mind. Like there's one way that we perceive a person, and then the other way the person feels themselves. And I think by just be able to reach out and talk to about it, talk to a best friend, even sometimes talking to a stranger, it can make your life so different. I've been in times where I talk to people, and it just, and there are some people who are so wise and just happen to say the right thing to you, and it completely changes your mood that day, or completely changes your perspective on a certain problem that you think, at the moment, like a lot of to me was during COVID time. My mental health was this lowest point. I think we even say waiting for the loved ones. and being unable to see them face to face. And me coming from the Hispanic community, we are very like family is very important, and we have to see them, we have to hug them. And that thing, one of the hardest parts, like I cannot see them because if I give them COVID, that could be a death sentence. It was very, very frustrating. Absolutely. And again, just walking around my neighborhood and you even say hi to people, even just the fact that you're able to interact with a human and just have a 5-10 minute conversation, it really made my day a lot better.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to clip that. I'm like, what can I clip already for what Angel is
I was just
saying
thinking
right?
that would be a really good clip.
Because it's
Oh,
so
thank you.
important. Because I was at a barbecue yesterday of some friends, and there were just some guys we know, and they were talking about like I don't even know how we got on the topic, but they were talking about mental health. They're like, yeah, we as guys, like we don't really talk about it. We just table it all, and that's what we do, and then we figure it out. And I was like, yeah, but like, you should really talk about that, like with your dudes and get into that, because if you table it, that's the worst thing. I'm one of those people that used to do that and still sometimes will table it and be like, oh, I'm fine, I'm good. And then with COVID, that was one of the things that hit me too, Angel. Like during that, I mean, I lost a friend to COVID. So it's one of those things that like when people would talk about it a certain way. And I'm like, oh, I get it. You have your opinion, but like I lost my friend during that. I couldn't fly home to see my family. Like there was so many things. And I think people didn't realize it. Like COVID was a good thing because people like started talking about it, but then like it kind of went away again. We don't really talk about mental health. Like the dudes yesterday were like, yeah, we don't need to talk about it. And I was like, but you should. And like we kept like talking about it. I didn't want to force them, but I'm like, come on, like, all right, well, I guess my job's done, whatever, we'll table it. But it just made me so sad for men's mental health, and that especially men. And that's why like people like you or other bands that want to come on, it's like, yeah, sorry, there's some dudes that want to talk mental health. That's so important. And what about for you, Dan?
Well, I mean, definitely like what you were saying is like a lot of people don't want to talk about it. It's a really personal issue to me, but I'm like open to it. Like if you asked me like 15 years ago to talk about it, I'd be like, what are you talking about? I have no idea
Mm-hmm.
what you're saying. I mean, obviously it's really important to me because I've experienced it's like very personal to me as myself, but because I like my one of my best friends, my ex-band member, it was what happened to him, and I kind of had survivor's guilt from it and kind of messed me up and had like a lot of regrets, and that's kind of why I wrote the song, and that's kind of what started Polyjuice because he was in my old band. We broke up. He kept asking me to start a new band, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that anymore. And then, I kind of just, this whole band is kind of like in a memoriam to him, I guess. And it just, I don't know, it's kind of like a hard topic to talk about. But I just wanted that music video to be fucking awesome for him. And Angel helped me do the whole like imagery and everything and like getting everyone else involved who had a similar situation. And it's just blows my mind how many people we had on rocks written out because we have like 1,000 followers on Instagram and we posted, hey, does anyone have anyone who lost someone to suicide? We want to put you in our music video if you're cool with that. And we had like 18 names, and out of 1,000 people, I think that's insane.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, you guys have my grandfather who I lost to mental illness, and he was my favorite person on the planet. And there is almost like, the survivor's guilt, and people don't talk about that. And then they don't even want to talk about suicide prevention. So again, like having you guys on here and having that music video, which I always share it whenever I can. I'm like, I'm sharing this and I'll have all the links for it. But it is such a powerful video. And I mean, just opening it up, like you said, like the 1 in 5 and how many people we've literally lose all of the time, and we shouldn't be losing them too young. I mean, even in the music front, like Chester Bennington, right? Like even if you don't know anybody, a musician you love, or Chris Cornell, Soundgarden, like there's so many we lose way too soon.
It's crazy those like memes where it shows all like the actors smiling and happy, like Robin Williams and stuff, and it's like you just
Right.
don't know what's going on behind the scenes because everyone's just putting up a front and a mask, smiling, happy. I mean, like that's how I got through my whole life is with just pretending everything's fine, and I think that's what everyone is doing. And I think most people, more than not, have mental health issues that they won't accept or admit.
1,000%. I was, like I said, I was a tabler. I'm like, oh, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm good. but in reality not. And just now, and even like doing this podcast and talking to other people, like we say, even like strangers, right? Like everyone that comes on here is kind of a stranger. But like when we do, it's like, oh wow, like they get it. They're not like, I'm not alone. Justine's not alone. Like all of us aren't alone. So there's so many people around us. Like I know my friends that I'm like, yeah, they're struggling, and just having to like look for those signs, because otherwise Justine knows, even in a text, she's like, you good? I'm like, no. So I'm getting better, but like, thank you for sharing that. Cause again, I'm sure it's not, like you said, Dan, it's not easy to talk about. And I still, it's been so long since I lost my grandpa, and it hits, like it's going to hit even later. Like, just thinking about him and like having you guys on in the song, but
No, that was wonderful.
We're sorry about your
Um,
grandpa too.
oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Like, yeah. And just a side note too, like it's weird how music too, because that day we lost him, we went home and like you could pre-order CDs like back in the day. I mean, I think you still do it, but that's when Meteora came out. And
Oh.
I had no idea, obviously the day I lost him, but went home and it was in my mailbox, Meteora. And it was like, thankfully I had that music to get me through, because it was one of those moments where it's like, oh my gosh, like my favorite person in the world. But I go home in my mailbox and like, here's Linkin Park, Meteora, and just that connection. So I always think of him whenever I think of like Meteora. So,
That's an amazing
Okay.
album. That's like an all-time top album. So
oh, 1,000%. And yeah, I could listen to that all day.
So we'd love to know, how has music made a positive impact? Like any artist in particular that has helped your mental health?
I just want to say real quick, like Linkin Park, definitely, just because you just brought it up.
Yeah.
But like you can just hear in the songs that he gets it. Like he knows, and like no, like back then, no one would really talk about stuff. But like all the songs, like if you listen to them now too, you're like, wow, he was really going through some shit, but he wasn't afraid to put it in his songs. But like I remember listening to it and being like, wow, this guy is like me. This guy knows what it's like, because when you're younger too, you don't know that anyone else is going through the same thing. I actually like had no idea. I thought that there's something wrong with me, and I didn't know what it was, and I thought I was the only person going through it, and I was just like confused. But like music was always that thing that was, I'm like, holy shit, this person knows exactly what's going on in my head. And you just like make that connection. I'm like, thank God for this song, like this album, like the Linkin Park. And then like another one would be like Pink Floyd, The Wall, and Good Charlotte. And just like
Good Charlotte.
those are probably like my top like three, like, oh shit moments, you know?
Good Charlotte. That's Justine and I. Like
Yeah.
first of all, love Good Charlotte. They were so kind too. For whatever reason, they shared our podcast too and our episode. And I was like, that was the one for me. Like it's never about that, but I was like, oh my God. Like we talked about like Hold On. Like that was such a big moment for like Good Charlotte. Love Good Charlotte forever. People will call them that poser band. And we're dying that day because they're so important to us. I love Good Charlotte.
Yeah, me too. That was like the first CD I ever got, actually, was The Young and the Hopeless. And I would just listen to it every fucking day. And also like everything that they say in their songs, I feel like I realized it like brainwashed me kind of, because I was always like growing up like, fuck society, fuck the system, fuck fuck school, like. And then I like recently I'm listening to Good Charlotte, I'm like, holy fuck, like their lyrics has exactly like brainwashed me.
Oh
But
yeah, I
no,
think they
yeah.
all. I think they all did. Like they
Yeah.
all did. I have a heart. Like that is bucket list. If I were to ever I've never met them. Bucket list to meet Good Charlotte and like have a picture with them. Like I have
Oh
pictures
yeah.
with Fall Out Boy and other people, but Good Charlotte would be like that would be top tier. I would just be dying. I don't care. I'm in my 30s. I love them so much, and if they were to do like a show anywhere, I would go.
Yeah.
I'm kicking myself. I missed them at When We Were Young last year. I think that was last year they did it. Just kicking myself because I love them.
Yeah, no, I think that album was epic. I remember listening to it and just even like the recording quality of it. I was like, how does this sound like this? How do their guitars sound like this? I was like, because I was like a kid. I was probably in like third or fourth grade or something. And I was just like, this is fucking awesome. And just like the lyrics and everything, it just like it really makes like an impact.
Good dudes. But what about you, Angel? What are like some of those artists for you?
It's gonna be a hard one to pick. I think one of the biggest one is definitely Blink 182.
Mm-hmm.
I really gone through, I think just the lyrics, and I think the image of, what your normal band, because I went from like grunge, and then alternative rock, and then it's Bling. You're like, whoa, who are these guys? Definitely completely. It kind of, I've been someone like, I think you mentioned this, Lisa. You know, you become this person who really doesn't share a lot, and it's like very reserved, and you kind of like live in this inner shell, and then you see Blink 182, and you're like, wait, I want to be like that. I want to be able to just, you know, break out of my shell, express myself, just be me, and whoever, regardless of who sees you, just be yourself. And I think that's one thing that I really got me from Blink 182. Regardless of mental health, just be yourself. You know, and people who surround you, there are people who are going to disagree with you, people who are just, and there are people who are just going to be, you know, welcome you in open arms. And that's what I think a lot of the mental health has to do with this. Surround with people that you want to be around. You don't want to be part of that negative people who are judgmental to you. You just want to be people who just love you for who you are. And I think that's going to be a huge relief on yourself that, you know, you're part of the community that you have a choice to be there. And then the other one that was a huge either for me was like Green Day too.
Mm-hmm.
I had that was one of the posters in my room. Another thing, like, you know, be outspoken to yourself. You know, go if you disagree with the government or if you don't like this idea, then just fight for what you believe is right. You know, just I can be outspoken. The one that really also made a big impact on me, and actually Dan and I are going to is Newfound Glory,
Mm-hmm.
and I also heard podcasts about it, and not the most of my favorite ones.
Oh,
And you know, I love how they just the band itself, even though they're amazing, they're so big. They also, you know, they have, you know, by the time they Chad got you some, you know, some tickets for the concert, I was like, oh my God, that's incredible. Like the musicians that can do that for you. I think that's also huge. And that's also one thing that I think is important, that bands take the time to, you know, listen to the fans, so people to answer, even if it's like, hey, thanks so much for your post, and you know, we appreciate you. I think that's incredible. It only takes a couple of seconds to make you feel like, oh my God, you know, this is why I love this band so much.
oh, that's why I said when that Newfound Glory tour got announced, I said, I don't care if I go by myself. I'm going to this. I do not care. And as of right now, I'm going by myself, but I don't care. Like, I have to go see them. And I mean, that's another band like Jordan. One day, I think we were on a podcast, Justine, and I'm like, the
Yeah.
phone's blowing up. And Jordan of Newfound Glory shared the podcast. And I was like, are you kidding me? And again, it's not about that. But again, I love that band. I grew up on them and they're like my forever. I can't wait to see them on Catalyst tour. It's gonna be so much fun. Are you guys gonna go see that tour?
Yeah, we're going
Definitely.
Wednesday.
Oh my God. Oh yeah. I could talk about like again, obviously that episode. I can talk about Newfound Glory all day. So that was one of our top ones, which I was shocked because a lot of people I know like don't like Newfound Glory, but yeah, no. How can you not? But like in terms of mental health awareness, where would you guys like to see it go? Like would you like I know we talked about like talking about it more, but I guess like what would you guys like to see? I know we all talk about like affordability, obviously, and accessibility, but like even if those are those things, what would you guys like to see in the world of mental health awareness?
Like kind of just like everything we did say already, like people probably have mental health problems that they don't accept or admit. Like the culture in general, people are just meant to like, I feel like they're like taught to suppress their feelings. It's like a sign of weakness. And I think like the cool thing to do is to be like, no, like I'm gonna take care of myself. I'm gonna get help, and like the sign we put in the video, reaching out is a sign of strength. I think that's what it makes you a stronger person, is being able to be humble yourself and go ask for help, and you know, really take care of yourself so then you can help other people instead of just keeping it inside. But like you said, with like affordability too, sometimes it's just really hard to do like the conventional methods of getting psychiatrists and a therapist or a psychologist, because either like you don't have health insurance, your health insurance won't cover it. I think it's kind of like the whole healthcare system is just a mess in general, especially with mental health. And I have like really bad experiences with it. And it's just like trying to go that route could be very beneficial. And I think it could be life changing if you do get that kind of help. But it's a huge process and you need a lot of patience and you need to put a lot of work and effort into doing it. And a lot of people won't do that. So you just have to like really step up and take care of yourself and do the things that you need to do. And even if you do, it's still a constant struggle because even with health insurance, you find it out like the right medication you're supposed to be taking and it's working for you. You don't have any symptoms or side effects. You're not throwing up or like gaining a shit ton of weight. And then you can't pick it up from the pharmacy because you need like a prior authorization or it won't go through your insurance needs. Like it's just like it can become like a real struggle. I think that it's even worse on Long Island because a lot of the psychiatrists are private practice and they are very expensive. And the people who are able to afford it are the people with money, and those are the people that they see. And it's kind of messed up.
Oh, that's awful. We've met a lot of great people. Like we've had some people that were in bands and also were, I think it was Old Neon, right, Justine? I think Zach was a therapist. Oh
Yeah.
gosh, I hope I'm not messing that up because I love that band. But like he was talking about that, and so many things are just like messed up about it. And the fact that, I mean, even me, when I learned I had my anxiety disorder, they're like, okay, you're gonna do this, go on this medication, but like I didn't like it. And I've just been learning to deal with it myself. And honestly, like I know like it's a hot take and people are gonna be like, I don't know, but like even working on your diet, things of that can
Mhm.
really help your mental health. And like a lot of people don't talk about that. And like I always preach to people like check your gut health, check that. And then if medication's not working, like check your environment and all that because it goes into your mental health. And a lot of doctors like and mental health and healthcare, like a lot of doctors don't want to talk about that or address that. It's just like, oh, here, take this pill that may or may not work.
Mhm.
And for some people, medication is great, but like, I don't know. For me, it just was not the way to go. So,
Yeah. I think there's
yeah.
like the two sides. There's like that conventional medicine route, which I think there's like a lot is you have to look at it like a whole like spectrum. Like that's just one part of the coin is like medication management and cognitive behavioral therapy, which can change the way you think about things. But then there's also your diet, exercise, getting sunlight outside because having good sleep schedules, like sleep hygiene is like extremely important. Like I don't think people realize how important sleep is. Like if you're not getting good sleep each night, you can start having like crazy mental health problems just from not even getting sleep if you don't have mental health problems. So like going outside each day, getting sunlight into your eye and the retina releases melatonin and helps with your circadian rhythm, and that can help you get a better night's sleep. Just like simple things that are free that anyone can do, like going outside, going for a walk, aerobics, cardio, like walking around like hills or like nature, getting in like the environment, like that can really help with your mental health too. I don't think there's just like one specific thing that you have to do. I think it's like a whole process and it's like a multi-dimensional thing where there's a lot of areas that you need to work on, but it's like not going to happen overnight and it's going to take time. And for me specifically, it has taken me years. And when I first started, I never thought it would be possible, but I'm in like a way better place today. And it took maybe like 10 years, which is a long time.
No, same. I tell Justine, I tell anybody, I'm like, yeah, even like having this podcast, I'm like, it's not like overnight. I'm like, let's talk about mental health, guys. Like, I'm so great. No, it took me around like 10 years too to be like, all right. And then I'm comfortable and I'm in a good place where I know, okay, this is what I have to do to keep myself in track if I'm like slipping a little bit. Like, even like, recently this last week, like, Justine, we needed this because we went through like a lot of stuff. And I was like sitting there, like even yesterday, I'm like, oh, I'm really going through it right now. But you know what? We're going to have this great conversation. It's fine. I'm all good. And it's going to help. And it truly has. So, like, we appreciate everything you guys have said for sure. And I mean, what about you, Angel? Do you have anything to add, like mental health awareness that you would like to see? I know we touched on like so much already.
No, absolutely. I mean, one part of you guys mentioned, I think going outside is huge. I mean, going for a walk, nature preserve, even like I think during that time, COVID, I was running a lot, and to me, even for like my playlist, all the bands that we love, and just to me was a point just when everything shuts down and everything just I can hear, and I just run, and you're just running. I mean, I'm running, but in my brain, you're at this place where you feel at peace, or you become peaceful for even if for that 30 minutes, 45 minutes that you're running, even walking is such a huge help. What I was gonna say, I work at a high school and I deal with a lot of high school students. And what I'm noticing, something beautiful happening nowadays in our schools is that, the encouragement of talking about your mental health, talking about your feelings, what is really stressing you is being promoted constantly, which I think what I love for because back when I went to high school, nobody really talked about like going to the guidance counselor or going to psychologist. Talk about and you're like, ooh, so so went to talk to the psychologist. I mean, something going on there. And I think that taboo has been taken away. You know, kids support each other. We got multiple clubs that support your mental health. And that's something that it personally gives me hope that more and more people are gonna get used to talk about the mental health and not feel so suppressed and be able to share with each other. So I was gonna mention that that's something that I can see like the light at the end of the tunnel with what you guys are doing, and but the school that I do, and hopefully, even though I know it's a very small battle in a huge war that we trying to promote for people to talk about their feelings, because I think there's nothing better than to talk about what is really bothering you, because even the fact that you're talking about it is just a relief. It's something, I mean, personally, I feel like pressure left me. And there are days where just bad days, you just can't help it. You're so angry, and there's sometimes you feel like nothing you can do. But what I do is turn the music on, pick up my guitar, or just for a walk. And like Dan said, it's a struggle that's gonna be there. There's one thing that's gonna work, there's another thing that's just gonna fail you, and then you find different paths or different ways to help you, to find that peace within you, or at least to let that bad moment, you just get over that.
Yeah, I mean, like you must have the note sheet. Like I'm like in my mind, like we're gonna ask you, what do you do for your mental health? So we know like walking, getting outside, exercise. Is there anything else you guys both do to keep your mental health in check?
No, I think in my case, my wife is like, hey, you have to, hey, are you okay? What's going on? Even very close friends to me, they're like, hey, listen, I'm not going to solve something off about you. I have one friend who's like, hey, you okay today? And I was like, oh, like, how can you tell? I think those people that know you the best, I think it's a huge help because they know something off. So that relieves the pressure, like, hey, listen, I'm not feeling well today. I think going to your closest friends, it really helps out a lot. And or like I mentioned before, even to a complete stranger who just happen to have those kind eyes. I think the eyes are like, like the windows to your soul. And you start walking around, and even like you go to the grocery store and randomly just happen to engage in a conversation. Like it happened to be enough, not to be creepy, like be somebody like, hey, what's going on? And just happen to just walk in and there's just somebody there. I don't know if it's my spiritual side, but I feel like there are like the universe has some people, like you meet people for a certain reason that will change your life or will give you a different perspective. And again, I don't know if just being like maybe a little naive, but I put a lot of I had a lot of faith in that, in the universe, really trying to guide you through a certain path. In this case, my path of peacefulness, hopefully, or just always remain calm and be 100% happy with myself. And that's something that I live by. In other words,
Man, again, Angel, I'm gonna have to like again, both of you, I'm gonna to, like figure out, can Instagram let me do more than a minute 30? Like somehow. But for you, Dan, is there anything else you do for your mental health? I know, like obviously you mentioned some of it, but is there anything else that we've missed?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that I do. I can sit here all day and talk about my like regimen, but even if I'm like super strict with things, sometimes what might be good for my mental health is to just not do any of them and just take like a reset day and just like give myself a break and tell myself it's okay that I don't have to be productive today, and that rest might actually help me more than having a productive day where I'm doing the gym, studying, like reading, like like trying to do being productive. Like even though those are all great for your mental health, I think having a balance between the two is like really important. And then just focusing on like every day, what I do try to do the three things is like your body, your mind, and then your spirit. So I try to do one thing for each, with like body, like exercise, whether it's like yoga or going for a walk or going to the gym. My mind, I always do meditation for my mind every day, which I think is really awesome that people should start doing. And I think like a lot of great people in history have used meditation as a tool. And I think I don't really know too many people who utilize that, but it really helps you calm yourself and center yourself if you have anxiety. And then also like for your mind is like your brain is just like your body. It can change and adapt, build new neurons, and like I try to read something every day, whether it's something for school, like science, or even just like a book, like Game of Thrones is like a pretty challenging book, I think, to read. And then like spiritual, like I try to like get out in nature if I can, or do something that like really lets me feel like energized in myself, which recently for the last couple of years has been Polyjuice of the music. And that's where I feel like connected on like a different higher level. And I try to do at least a little bit of that every single day to kind of feel balanced and like grounded.
Oh, again, that's so good. I know we
Yeah.
had someone talk about meditation too, and that's something I have never tried. But people always talk about it too, that hey, this is really good, or even like that grounding. Like I always do stuff in nature. I mean, being in Jersey, you have the parks or the water, that's huge. You go to the shore. But like me too, like call myself like the little Snow White in New Jersey because I feed little squirrels. Like I have a squirrel bench. And it's like that's my little nature. Like I go out and I like feed them. And now like literally during COVID and just beyond, it was just really bad in my mental health. And I started feeding them. I got like one of those benches. And ever since then, when I walk outside, they come running up or out. And I have to have like their little peanuts or like whatever. But things like that, like nature, like definitely helps your mental health so much.
Yeah. Oh, one thing that I didn't mention that Angel like made that was like his whole thing was like being social, because like my natural tendency is to isolate myself and be surrounded by no one, and like I
Yeah.
like am if you like continue to keep doing that, it's just like a never-ending downward spiral. So I feel like being able to build like social networks and support systems and different like kind of hobbies where you're going out and interacting with other people, even if it's like just go to meet up with a friend for like a dinner or like go to a concert, I think that's like really important. And that was something that I was missing for a long time, where I was kind of just isolating, especially with the pandemic. And I think that's why like a lot of people during the pandemic, like mental health cases were soaring, because everyone was kind of being isolated and not having that social interaction that you kind of need to be healthy.
Yeah, no, that's an interesting point. And like it's so important because that's like me. I would isolate a lot when I'm having a bad. I still do it. And I remember there was what was it, April, Justine? It was Thursday. Thursday was playing a really tiny venue here. And I love Thursday so much. And I almost like didn't go because I was just having a bad day. I was like, I don't want to go. I don't want to be around anyone. And I think it was you, Justine. You're like, you have to go. Like it's a
Yeah.
250 like capacity room. You have to go.
That's a good
Yeah.
friend.
Yeah, she was like, so I was like, I don't want to go. I'm feeling really anxious. I don't even want to take like the drive. It's like, so we go and of course, like there was no parking and I was already like flustered because I was like, oh, now I got a street park. Like, I'm just but once we got in and I was surrounded by like people like me and the music and Jeff Rickley and like Thursday came on, and it was just like an incredible experience. I was like, okay, like I'm at peace. I'm fine. So like that's important, like getting out when you're trying to isolate because I would have stayed home and I would have missed that and I would have been like kicking myself.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to just push yourself, and the more you do it over time, like now I can go out without a problem, but if you keep isolating, it just keeps getting worse and worse, to the point where like I didn't even want to drive my car anywhere, or like didn't e- I like couldn't I don't even know what was wrong. I couldn't even go to the gym. It got so bad. But now like if you have to like just take it one day at a time and keep trying to push the boundaries a little bit further each time, and then just eventually hopefully gets easier. But easier said than done.
Yeah, no, but that's so like, yeah, that's so because that's me, like being the isolator. I wouldn't even like want to drive anywhere either. And then now that I'm doing better, it's like, wow, like I'm driving on the parkway, I'm doing this, I'm doing all these things. So, oh my gosh, but this has been so great. But like before we let you guys go and have the rest of your Sunday, what is next for you guys? Because you had the EP in 2021, but are we getting any new music? Can we talk about that? Is like there anything going on with you guys?
So we got a lot of things in the works. Like we're right now that meme that's like every local band says big things coming soon.
Yes.
So, so like in 2 weeks we're filming another music video. We have a song that we have just sent in for mixing and mastering. So we will be getting like a new song, a fresh song out, like full band. And then there's like maybe like 100 Polyjuice songs demos that we've been working on for like the last couple of years. And we kind of like narrow them down to, I'm just gonna say like 10 that they're like maybe like most of them, like maybe the 10 songs are done track, like close to done tracking, and then there will be music coming soon, but I kind of like to keep everything secret.
Yeah, no, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna ask this since probably can't be answered. The majority of anyone that comes on can't like tell me anything, but it's
Yeah.
just so good. So like anyone listening, like I legitimately think this EP is good. Like I said, I love the message and I really love the music. So I want to hopefully send people your way.
Yeah, we truly appreciate it. Like I said, we work on good stuff, and when you guys get to hear it, we know you're gonna love it. We put a lot of effort, put sweat and tears on this. So hopefully, we hope to play shows soon. Everything's coming together. So we'll definitely like to see anyone who wants to support our band, on the shows.
Oh, for sure. And like I said, Long Island's not that far. So I mean, I'll have to get out and see this and like finally get to Long Island because I've never been. And like that's one of those places, like I said, that's just so much history. Like I can only imagine living there. And maybe it's like not the same for you guys, but for me, it's like I want to go where Taking Back Sunday was. I want to see the
Yeah.
exit. They talk about. I want to see that.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely changed because like back in the day they had like the downtown and the Crazy Donkey and all these like big clubs that everyone gone to. So and then like Revolution closed down, but they have like I think some new venues coming out too that like I feel like it's emerging again. It's like a revival almost.
Oh, that's awesome. But again, this has been so great. And I can't wait to put this out and appreciate you guys taking your time on Sunday. I know it's Sunday. It's like kind of everyone's reset day, whatever, but oh my gosh, thank you guys so much.
Yeah, today we're taking back Sunday right now.
Oh, there we go. We're taking back Sunday. Oh my gosh. And all right, guys, that was our conversation with Dan and Angel of Polyjuice. We cannot thank them enough for taking time for us, especially on a weekend. And it's one of those things we appreciate everyone taking time because at the end of the day, everyone's taking time out of their day to sit on here and sit on Zoom and talk music and mental health. And it's really amazing. I have all links below. Go watch their video. Go check out Polyjuice. Go follow their Instagram. There's probably more things on the way that they couldn't disclose to us. But I just think they're such an important band to follow. And I love what they're doing in terms of mental health awareness and suicide prevention. And once again, it's great when we get some dudes on here to talk mental health. Links below as well where to find us. And then remember, if you are liking this show, even just a little bit, give us a follow, help subscribe to the show. It truly would mean a lot to us. You never know who we're talking to, and it helps support every single podcast, not just ours. And if you really loved this episode, make sure to leave us a positive rating or a review. That's the easiest way to help support any podcast you like. I hope you like ours. As for Justine and I, we will be back on Friday with another great conversation. Can't wait to share that one. And yeah, we'll see you guys Friday. All right. Bye, guys.